Sometimes there's just one move that you make that brings the entire mix together and finally takes it where it needs to be. So in this video, I'm just gonna open up 3 different mix sessions from recent projects that I've done and just show you 3 cases where one small move finally made the entire mix. All right, the first one is gonna be for Emery's album, Rub Some Dirt on It, which came out recently on Tooth and Nail Records. Let me play a bit of a song for you here. All right, so the one move that finally brought it all together was on the drums here, specifically on the drum bus. So the last plugin I have on this chain is the Soundtoys Devil Lock Deluxe. Now let's bypass it. This is what I had basically kind of 70-80% through the mix. It was sounding like this. Sounded pretty good, but in this mix, in this project, we wanted it to sound very kind of live and almost dirty. And I thought, man, the drums just, they're not driving enough. They need to sound a little messier. They need to sound a little more intense. And so I grabbed this Devil Lock plugin. I literally just put it at the end of the chain, like it's after a clipper. Now, listen to this difference. Now this is subtle. I'll solo the drums so you can hear more of the difference here. So what happens is the snare starts to pop out a little more in an aggressive way, and then the cymbals also kind of get a little hotter and also a little edgier. So that was definitely the case in this mix. Once I threw this plugin on at the end of the chain, and you can see it's like, it's barely in the mix. It's at 1, but it was just enough to push it over the edge and give it the intensity that it needed. Okay, the next example I'm gonna show you is a song by a solo artist named Jake Scott, and here it is. Okay, this time, the move that really made the difference was on the guitars. So on the rhythm guitars here, I'm using the SSL channel. So basically what I had until, again, probably like 3/4 through the mix was like this. I typically don't like to mess with like a main guitar tone too much with EQ. I'll do a little bit, here I'm kind of boosting some lower mid-range just to thicken it up a bit. Sometimes I'm taking out a bit of like really low end like I am here, or brightening it up a bit, but I like to keep it kind of how they gave it to me. So that's why I kind of left the top end here, did a little sculpting in the mid-range. Something just wasn't gluing in this mix though. I was happy with the drums, I was happy with everything individually, but it just wasn't all coming together. Now, what I ended up doing was boosting the high end with a shelf at 5K, and actually a fairly big boost for me on rhythm guitars, almost 4 dB. Now, check this out. So what this did for me is it glued together the top end of the mix. When you don't have this boost here, the drums sound kind of separate, like the cymbals are just kind of out on their own. The guitar tone is like okay, but it's not like exciting. And then once you bring this boost in, all all of a sudden the high frequencies are kind of just gluing together with the cymbals at the high end of the vocals. It's creating this nice energy that's playing well together as a mix. And you need that in your mix. I think a lot of people are too obsessed with like carving out like, okay, my kick's going to be at 60 hertz and my bass is going to be at 80 hertz. And then my guitar is going to be filtered out at 120 and it's going to live here. And then, the cymbals will be up here. It's like, you got to eventually just get all that stuff out of your mind because it's supposed to mix together. You need the lines to blur. That's what makes a good mix. And in this case, boosting that top end of the guitars really kind of brought it into the same territory as the cymbals and the drums, and it made it all fit together. All right, this last example I'm going to show you is from my friends in the band Mandroid Echostar. They just put out this brand new song, I think a week ago, so definitely go check it out. But here's the mix. Some nice guitar action there. Let's skip to the chorus. All right, now the clinching move in this mix was on the snare, and it was actually from this Oxygen plugin, which is from my company Black Salt Audio. Now, I typically haven't been using this on snare very often, but man, it really made the difference in this mix. So let me first solo the drums here, and let me bypass Oxygen. So here it is on just the snare top track. So listen to this. Gives it a nice little lift and crunch in the top end. Now I also threw it on my snare sample, so check this out. Now really the big difference is going to be when you hear them both together. Context of the mix. Let's go to the verse. There's something on my mind. I'm burning paradise before. That's crazy. It's actually like more obvious in the context of the mix than it is in solo. There's something on my mind. I'm burning paradise before the steps of heaven's door. I dream of rainbow skies. The ultraviolet eyes that burn right through me. Just gave me that extra bite and presence to bring the snare up front and really give it focus in the mix. And if you kind of solo this out here, let's go to the snare top. So the Oxygen knob just adds some nice brightness. But really what I think worked well in this mix is the saturation. That kind of is just literally saturating just the high frequencies, which really was where the magic was here. It's that crunchiness in the top end, which I just really needed on this snare track. Here it is with the sample too. Splat. I was missing that splat. So there are just 3 examples for you guys here. And now I know there's no like specific tip or formula that I'm trying to give you in this video, but I'm just trying to give you some ideas, because sometimes when you're kind of struggling through a mix or you feel like it's close, but it's just, there's something that's just not there. In that case, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just reference some of my favorite mixes really quickly, like just for a few seconds, and I'll bounce back to my mix, and usually something will stick out. Maybe it's the vocals not bright enough, or something's not loud enough, not enough bass. And like I showed you in this one, it was the guitars, it was the snare, it was the overall drum bus not hitting hard enough. And then you just try stuff, and you don't have to like reinvent everything. You'll notice that in all these cases, or at least these cases with the drums, I just threw Oxygen on at the end of the chain, like the very end of the chain, just something else, right? See if you can get some magic. Same thing with the Devil Lock and the Emery mix. It was just at the end of my drum bus, even after the clipper. So don't get too precious with things. Don't overthink it. Just try stuff because you might be just this close to really nailing that mix.